need to somehow zoom out is what I need to find out. Okay, that's about straight, isn't it, at least?
Yeah,
I just gotta zoom
looks
out.
good.
Then all I gotta do is zoom in. So where's the zoom?
Right here. Right.
Ah, there we go.
It's a different, so you have to clear up, just get out of that. I think,
Now I can remember how to get out of there. There we go.
and then,
Zoom.
yeah.
Aha. Yeah, it's still not.
So we're missing,
It's like, okay, image. That just changed image quality. Auto. Okay, so that lost the heading.
oh
There we
my
go.
gosh, look at you.
Jeez.
Look at you.
I think I found it.
Don't let go of that button.
Well, I still don't know if it's not going to fit though. See, because it's still going to kick off the bottom when it's all said and done. So I think we're just going to fit as best we can.
There we go.
Yeah, I can read it. Can you read it?
Yes.
Okay. And I think let's thumb through the slides and
Let's go back.
see if there's anything critical missing at that point. It's slanting, but you can read it. Does it have the advance on it or not the advance on it?
Well, that had nothing to do with what you were looking at. And I know it's got juice because the, let's just X that. All right, let's go back in and see what happens now.
Oh, that's not what I want. I'll let you run it.
No, that's all right. Let's just go here. Let's see what happens.
Okay. There we go. Well, it looks like at least it's all on the screen.
Yep.
Okay.
We're going with it, bud. Thank
Okay.
you very much. Yes, sir?
On the ministries thing, Sarah's not here tonight, so try to find her.
Okay, Tiffany will jump in here.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm supposed to read the ballot tonight, right?
Right.
Aren't I? Okay, do you have that or do I need to pull out what I've got?
Oh, the ballot?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need a copy.
Aaron? Yeah. Tiffany, Jeff,
Somebody's telling me the annual meeting is online. Cameras are looking down.
Where am I missing it, Jeff?
What are you looking for?
The microphone that he
Is it
brought.
here?
Greetings, Harvest Ridge, and welcome to the 2020 annual meeting. So wonderful to be here with all of you and all of you who are joining us remotely and online tonight. Welcome as well. It's a little bit after 5 o'clock. We appreciate your patience while we tackled a little technical challenge right here. When we came in tonight, the projector settings had not been where they were left a week or so ago, which happens. Different people use our equipment, so we're grateful to Aaron and Chris for getting that back as best we could. Thank you for that. Well, we're really excited to be here tonight at annual meeting, and I can say that I shared with my wife Maggie this morning how exciting it was, and it's the first time really I've woke up in a couple of years at annual meeting and went, oh man, I'm excited for annual meeting today. We've got so much awesome stuff, so many wonderful things to be grateful for and to share the gratitude with Harvest Ridge and to talk through some wonderful things that are, as Pastor Jeff said this morning during sermon when he reminded everybody about annual meeting, please come and hear what God has done in our church. So many answered prayers. So we're just going to get underway with that and get the meeting going. I wanted to let everyone know, especially if you're joining us online, that if you have a question or a comment to make about the presentation, and we encourage you to do that, then you can use this phone number, 913-742-2465, to either text your question or comment or your ballot, your vote, or just whatever might be on your mind. We can use Tori's phone for that, make that available to you. You'll be able to see a little bit if you're streaming online on YouTube, but not everyone can do that. So use that phone number, please, for those joining remotely. I'm going to start our meeting. If I could ask Pastor Jeff to come up and give us an opening prayer, and you can see the agenda that we'll get into after prayer.
All right, let's pray. God, we are just grateful to you for this church. We're grateful for so many of the people here who are just actively engaged and plugged in and serving and sacrificing time and energy. God, to be a blessing to others, and God, to advance your glory, to advance your kingdom to those around us. So God, we're grateful, and we just pray that as we hear this, go through this meeting, that we can be encouraged through stories and just through what you are doing here at this church. And God, I pray that you will be directing us and leading us towards your future and what you would have for us as a church to be going. And so I pray that would be clear, and I pray that we could communicate exactly your will and purpose. God, again, we thank you and we pray all of this in your name. Amen. All right, so I think go ahead and start with our next item. I wanted to take some time and just to kind of express my gratitude for this church and for many people in this church. It's kind of the theme of, I think, our meeting this year is gratitude. It's been a tough season in many ways, and we don't want to harp on all of the struggles or things that have happened in the past. But we also want to acknowledge and recognize the ways that God has been blessing this church in many ways that we never thought or even foresaw. So I was wanting to start and do a little bit of a time of gratitude I will start and initiate, and then I'll give a chance for people if they want to share or express some kind of gratitude that they have. And then after that, we'll jump into the ministry team leaders and their updates. But to start off and to give kind of an update and my expression of gratitude, I want to go back, starting all the way back at the beginning when COVID first hit, and what our church did, and the way that so many of our volunteers stepped forward in ways that was incredibly sacrificial and devoted a ton of time and energy into helping keep this church to survive and to thrive through a tough time. So I want to go through a timeline first. So in March 13th then is when President Trump had declared that COVID was a national emergency. 2 days later, March 15th, was the last time that we would meet in person at Harvest Ridge for several months. The next month, we just simply recorded our sermons in our office on video on Saturday mornings, and then we would post those videos that we did on Saturday morning on YouTube the next day, and we did that for a month. Then on Easter, so Chris, Coleman, Daniel, and Aaron and the worship team led a sunrise worship service in our parking lot. Using Daniel's technology, they broadcasted the sound to people's car stereos. After Easter, Chris started gathering the worship team to meet on Saturdays and recording a worship service here inside the building. After they recorded the music, there was then hours and hours and hours of editing for both Daniel and Aaron. I wish I could tell you how many hours they spent editing these videos, but fortunately for me, I usually went home when it got dark, and so I really don't know how many more hours they were spending up here, but I know it was significant, the amount of time spent by these group of people in producing those videos. But the quality of those videos were amazing qualities. The amount of time, though, it became difficult to justify. Chris suggested that we go back to doing a parking lot service. So on May 3rd, nearly 2 months into COVID, we went back to the parking lot. And it was nice for two reasons. It allowed people to come and to see each other and to be a part of the service here, even if it was just through their car windows. And it also saved hours and hours of video and sound editing. So that was the perk. Now, however, it did create for a hectic and chaotic morning. Oftentimes, Chris, Aaron, and Daniel were scrambling to get everything in place. There was a lot to do. They had to load up all the stuff from in here. They had to cart it out into the parking lot, reset it up again in the parking lot, do the service, take it down, and bring it back in. So it was some chaotic mornings. We were often scrambling to get everything in place. We fought wind and rain. Most churches did not do a parking lot service because of the amount of time and energy that it requires. The ones that did do parking lot services had a paid staff to do the work for them. We were relying purely on volunteers. We were in the parking lot for 4 weeks before moving back indoors on May 24th. And then on May 31st, we opened our doors to allow people to come back attending our services. Even though we were back in the building, there was still a lot of work that had to be done. We were trying to adjust to life as church online. If you notice now, we are using 2 cameras here in the sanctuary. Bill Higgins and Aaron were instrumental in making that happen. But it required many hours to make these operational and working like they do today. We have a digital soundboard that required Daniel and Aaron to learn, which they have done exceptionally well. In light of all of this, then, I want to express my gratitude to many people within this church. There are some people who have really stepped up in supreme ways, without whom we probably are not doing what we're doing. So first, I want to single out and express my gratitude to Chris, to Daniel, and to Aaron. The amount of time that these 3 invested into the life of this church together reaches into hundreds of hours. They have sacrificed a lot of time, a lot of energy into making our services happen and making them available for everyone to see. And they have done it purely as volunteers. I don't know if you know this, but Aaron brings a skill set that most of us can't even begin to understand. And his knowledge and skill set has been incredibly beneficial to this church. And I believe that it is providential that God brought him at a time when we had no idea that we were going to be needing the things that we needed to happen. But I also appreciate his willingness to serve. We have come to rely on him for so many things that need to be done, and he has always been trustworthy and dependable. Secondly, I want to mention my gratitude to God for Amy Mitchell. Around March, Amy took on the great responsibility of leading our youth program. This is a responsibility that requires a lot of time, and Amy has done a phenomenal job with leading our youth, and we should all be grateful for her investment in the lives of our youth. I want to mention I'm grateful for Carla Jordan. She came on staff in June. Her position was funded by the PPP grant. Carla was instrumental in the support of Learning Space that we started. This would not have happened without her. She's been a positive catalyst in many ways, basically taking on many of the responsibilities that typically would have fallen on the pastors. She organized the fall festival. She was a key organizer and planner for the Blue Christmas service. She's making changes and additions to the website and many, many other things. I want to mention my gratitude to Mike Polson. Mike has done really about everything you could do, whether it's trimming trees outside the building, teaching our Sunday school class every week, helping lead an HRT group, playing worship every Sunday, or filling in as preacher, or even I called him up and Chris and Mike went with me to help move an elderly couple in the community to a new home. I'm grateful for, Mike is like the Swiss Army knife of ministry, and I'm grateful for all that he does. Although I would say this, I don't know that I've seen you work in the nursery, so we need to expand your skill set. Yeah, sure. 4 blades. Yeah, I'd give you at least 5 or 6, but yeah. So I'm grateful again for all of you. I'm grateful again for our mostly volunteer staff here at the church. Debbie Jensen stepping up tremendously during Tiffany's absence while she's away. Debbie does a lot of the uploading now for our worship and our sermon content for Sunday mornings. And on other occasions, she does many things behind the scenes that no one knows or sees. Sarah Thrasher, our connections for Sarah Thrasher for leading our connections team, and also for creating online forms and anything else that we have needed to be created. For Carla Higgins for communications and for sending out the weekly email, also for taking over the cleaning of the church, for Tom Knapp and providing us with IT support and keeping things operational. There are many other people that I'm grateful for. For the sake of time, I cannot go into detail. But the lads, the Schroeders, the Thrashers, Mike Polson for leading HRT groups, Barb Truesdale for organizing Red Cross blood drives within our building, Larry Lang for teaching confirmation, Sandy Anderson for her involvement in True Light and constantly taking donations over there, for Bruce and Rose and Tim for running projections on Sunday morning, for Bill Higgins for basically doing everything around here, for Nancy Wagner and for Cindy Myers for their constant and continual meetingly every week to pray for the life of this church, for ministry team leaders that we will hear about from shortly. And I especially want to mention our finance team, Wanda Polson, Diane Anderson, Cindy Myers, and now Jake Blake, for the incredible time and energy that they have done and the important job that most people never actually see. Now, I know there are many people that I have not mentioned, but before I end, I want to express my gratitude to God for the leadership team. Throughout much of this past year, and during the whole time that we were in transition, the leadership team was meeting every single week. And sometimes it was a couple times a week, and oftentimes it was for hours at a time. They were meeting to discuss the operations of the church, the next steps. The amount of hours that they invested this past year is far more than I think any church would have ever asked a leadership team to invest. But they have been a great support and encouragement for Tiffany and myself. I appreciate their wisdom. I appreciate their encouragement. And they have made ministry a joy for us as pastors. I'm grateful for HUD's leadership, and he is someone that I can turn to for wisdom in managing situations. He leads with grace and compassion. He's always uplifting, seeing the best in every situation. There's much that I have learned from him this past year. I'm grateful that he's staying on our leadership team. I'm grateful for Tori for agreeing to chair the team for this next year. I know that life is busy with 3 young kids, so we also need to thank Jake for this decision as well. But I'm confident in Tori's leadership ability and also her heart for serving God. Finally, I wanted to express my gratitude for you, the church, for the patience that you have shown us, for your continuing commitment to one another, for your care and concern that you have shown my family, and for the many emails of encouragement that you have constantly sent, and for your constant prayer in the church, for the church. This has not been an easy season, but when we needed people the most, there have been a large number of people who rose to the occasion and sacrificed many, many hours in serving this church. You are a blessing to those who are in this meeting. You are a blessing to many in our community, and you are a blessing to me and my family, and I'm grateful to God for you. So this is kind of an opening, I think, and I just want to ask if anyone else has anything to share gratitude-wise before we turn to the ministry team discussion.
I'll be there.
They will be online.
Online?
Thank you. Oh, yeah, that. Thank you. I just, I don't know about how many of you in here love a beautiful lawn like I do at home. But it's amazing to come in here on Sunday and see this lawn out here that has been magically manicured and cared for, and it just, I happened to spend an outdoor day here this spring trying to trim up some shrubs outside, and the whole time, I was probably here 3 or 4 hours. The whole time I was here, there was a guy out there riding the mower, and it looks so nice. So that's my gratitude is this beautiful lawn that God gave us, and how well it's cared for. Chuck, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Chuck, definitely that is true. We appreciate you have done so much of the shouldering the burden on that side of things, and we appreciate that. Yeah.
It seems so simple, but it has meant a lot. Some people provided some giant picnic tables for out under the trees in that nice area. And I've seen lots of pictures of groups using them. My core group can't really get together, but after church, we've sat out there many times and visited and shared little treats and stuff and could pray for the church. And who knows those simple things? I know this tremendous amount of work everybody's been doing, but even that thoughtful little thing has made such a difference. So I thank those people.
Yeah, good, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, so our next, someone's changing it for me, thank you. So we're gonna do ministry updates. And I think we have a list of we have a couple people who I know have sent me an email with their updates because they weren't gonna be here in person. So I will read that also. But for those who are here, I don't know, we can start or go down the list, but Chris, did you have an update that you would wanna share for our worship team?
Come to Christmas Eve service, it's going to be great. We're going to focus on light entering the world. So if you're available, come to our Christmas Eve service. We're going to focus on light entering the world. It's going to be wonderful. Everybody needs that this year. And I hope I'm not stealing Amy's thunder on this one, but we've been having the youth band rehearse, and they even led worship and youth last week. They are going to lead a youth Sunday for us on the 27th, and it will be something to see. So.
Yeah, thank you. I heard them the very first time they met, and they sounded tremendous on the very first day they met. So I imagine it's only gotten better since then too. So, all right, Amy, do you want to go next?
I have been so thankful for this year. I did not expect when I stood here last year and gave the update for youth ministry that I thought I was just filling in then for the youth minister. I did not know I would stand here as the youth director right now. I love these kids. They, we started with a tremendous year. We were going gangbusters in the church, and then we were working through an I Am series, I Am the Bread of Life. And the last night we were here together before we were basically shut down for COVID, we did I Am the Bread of Life, and we broke bread together, and it was tremendous. And the next time we see each other, it's by video, and it was tremendous. We worked through a series by video called, it's probably not the best title, but it's called Totally Mental. And it talked about mental health, and these kids were open and honest and were engaged in ways that It's just awe-inspiring to me. And they continued that. Once we were able to start meeting back together, we did a series on apologetics, where we looked at the different types of religions and how we can act and react with them to show them our Christ. And we come back into the church, and we have now, they did the deep dive. They wanted to go deep, and they went deep on Revelation. And they have done so much good work. And I will tell you, it's not just the conversations with them, it is the conversations among them, where they are reaching to each other, where they are encouraging each other. It's amazing. I would be remiss if I did not show tremendous gratitude to Steve Davis. He is here every week. He is doing what he can for these youth, and he makes a strong impact just for them to know that he's here and loves them. Come join us sometime. It is really, I'm excited for the youth band. That has been youth-led, and you guys are going to be blown away. We have such talent. I think you saw it this morning. I'm just thankful for all that God has provided to us, and I'm really thankful for these youth.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. So we can do, Bill, did you have something to add to the building? Where is Bill? Oh, yeah. Watch right by you. Did you have something to add or no? I know, we're going to do Tiffany last, and then, sorry. We're going to use that as our transition.
Messing up on the order there. I was getting all geared up to be last. No, I'm not. Well, of course, COVID changed so many things this year. But I'm going to go back and give a little brief history of what's happened in the past and kind of where we're going to go in the future that I see for us. If we go back to 2018, and 2018 is when we did our upgrade of our internet and our phone system here, which gave us this wireless system and gave us this very fast internet. And at the time, we had no clue that we were going to need that for COVID. The fact that you can come in here now and use Zoom and those other technologies to connect with your group all goes back to that infrastructure improvement that we made in 2018. Also in 2018, we had our CIP, and the CIP has been funding things as we've gone along all the way up into 2020. In 2018, we did the lighting in here in the gathering room in the narthex. So this has been in service for 2 years. We haven't lost a lamp yet. I don't think we will for a long time. So that's a big win, great energy savers too. In 2019, the parking lot lighting was done. So that's been in service now for a year. We also put the TV in the narthex. We also replaced thermostats in the building. And part of all those projects were to lessen maintenance, but also to save on our energy cost. Having better control of the HVAC and the lighting, we've reduced our gas and electric bills about 15% over what they were like 3 years ago. So that's pretty significant. So in 2019, towards the end of 2019, we as a leadership team started talking about the sound system and what improvements we could make. Getting a lot of complaints from people, rightfully so. We have a room with terrible acoustics. And at that time, it was decided we need to upgrade some of this equipment. It's been in service for 20 years. So at that point, Chris, myself, and Daniel and Aaron, we got together, and principally Aaron worked on the architecture of the system and put that together. Our funding source for that was memorial funds and CIP funds, because we got more in that CIP fund than we anticipated. So we used those funds to do that project. But at the end of 2019, as a leadership team, we were debating on what we were going to do as far as sharing our services online. And we had a discussion, do we really need to stream? Do we really want to stream? And it was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Do we really need to do that? Well, luckily, we had decided that we would put the infrastructure in to make that possible. And so that build out started at the beginning of the year. Then when COVID hit, then we doubled that effort to actually focus more on the streaming. So that kind of come around because of COVID. And then at that point, we ended up with the 2 cameras in the room. And if you're here every Sunday and you haven't watched the stream, go watch it. It's good. We're putting out a quality product that I've seen much bigger churches with paid staffs do a lesser quality job than we're doing with a few volunteers. It's pretty amazing. So then in 2020 with the COVID, we started talking about, well, what can we do to facilitate people meeting? And the picnic tables just came out of a meeting. We had a couple donations in the church towards those tables, and we got those put in, and that's probably been one of the most popular things we did all year was 2 simple picnic tables. It's amazing the use that those tables have gotten. We had numerous repairs during the year. I won't bore you with all that stuff. Our work days pretty much kind of got trashed because of COVID. We did have 1 short work day to spread some mulch. Hopefully going in 2021, we'll get back on that. For 2021, what I see happening, of course, we've been working on the building infrastructure for several years, trying to upgrade things because things here are old. So what we anticipate going into 2021 is another CIP. And the biggest funding part of that will be for the parking lot. We have to do something with our parking lot. I will mention Monticello Road over here, the city's back working on that. And as part of that project, the gas company relocated part of their gas line on the back side of the property, and we received $3,100 for their effort. And that money's been earmarked towards a parking lot already. So we've already got a start on the funding that we need for that. Also, you're going to see in the first quarter of this year, we're starting to continue our conversion to LED lighting within the building. So you're going to see some of these old fluorescent lights start disappearing in some of the classrooms. That's going to give us the ability to dim the rooms, which will be nice if you're going to have any sort of video or any work like that. We're also looking at coming up with a portable unit for Zooming. So if you come and have a meeting here at church, but you have people who can't come, that you would be able to they would easily be able to join your meeting via the internet. And hopefully all the equipment you have to do that would be here at the church. You wouldn't even need your computer. Should be very simple, and that's a work in progress right now. Other than that, any questions? I'm done.
Thank you, Bill. Before Tiffany comes up and talks about the children's ministry, so Brenda Miles had sent me an email with kind of a description, and then Nancy Wagner is actually not on the list, but is heading up kind of our prayer team. And so we'd kind of asked her a while back to be heading that up, and so she is constantly a catalyst for prayer within the church. So they have both responded by email, and so I just want to read you what they have said, and then I'll hand it over to Tiffany. So Brenda Miles, Bless My Home Ministries, says, we've had a blessed year serving families, not only True Light, but now working with Willow Domestic Violence in Lawrence, Children's Mercy, and KVC Health Systems. True Light is on board as we work with other organizations. We are currently working with our 126th family. So that's well. The Lord continues to provide 2 units for our ministry through donations from several generous men and women, not only from our church, but also other churches. One of the units is for household items, and the other is used for furniture. We have received cash donations through designated giving. True Light has received another grant for the coming year in the True Light's Homeless Trust Fund. With these funds and donations, we are able to purchase items that have not come in through regular item donations, so we can fill needs requested by our clients. We have a Bless My Home crew. These volunteers are amazing. They pick up donations using their own trucks and muscles. They meet clients at the units to receive donations and spend time sorting and organizing our household unit. Ken Schroeder heads up this head of all of our deliveries. He furnishes a covered trailer so we can deliver furniture for 2 to 5 clients at a time, helping us to serve them more quickly. We have had volunteers with each delivery to help with loading and unloading furniture at our clients' homes. Thank you to all of you. If you would like to volunteer in any of these areas, please let me know. In the past few months, our furniture donations have been very few, but recently things are picking up these last couple weeks. We believe this is due to the pandemic. 3 of our retirement communities, which have been a rich supply for furniture donations, are not allowing anyone into their community if not a resident. Our hope for 2021 is that 2021 will be much better, and we believe the Lord wants us to expand by reaching out to other churches in our community to get involved as well. Plus, we plan on working with Pastor Tiffany and Carla Jordan in our expansion and growth as a ministry. Finally, please pray for Bless My Home, our donors, volunteers, and for the items needed for each of our clients. So thank you, Brenda, for your ministry with that, through that ministry, and all the good that you're doing. Nancy Wagner wrote and says, "We are thankful that HRCC recognizes the value of prayer in our Christian walk. The prayer team exists to serve the greater purpose of God through Harvest Ridge, to love God, to love others as ourselves, and to be disciples of Christ who make disciples of Christ. We receive prayer concerns and requests from individuals in the congregation. We are available to pray as the need arises. We pray regularly for pastors, staff members, leaders, groups, and congregations. And we are available for spiritual needs or concerns. We offered 2 spiritual retreats this year for women to increase their focus on their relationship with God, and we welcome anyone to join us in this ministry. Please let us know." So if you want to take part in that ministry, or if you have someone that you want to be praying specifically for you, Nancy Wagner is a good person to reach out to. Thank you, Nancy.
I have one from Pat also.
Oh, do you want to read it?
Sure, yeah. Sorry, Pat is listening in and wanted to share an update on women's ministry. She said that they were able to successfully hold a parking lot baby shower. I don't know where a byproduct of that went, but he's around here somewhere. They had 2 outside retreats, which were just mentioned as well. The book club has continued to thrive, and then they are able to do Lift on Zoom, which has been a blessing. I know that I am far less bubbly and informed than Pat would be, but I know that COVID has not slowed this group down, so thanks, ladies.
Thanks, everybody. So I'll do just a quick update on children's and then move to our pastoral update. Children's ministry, I'm thankful for people in the church that say, hey, we still want our kids to come together. We are still getting back together in the back room. We have teachers who are willing to teach. So each Sunday we have around 10 children who are able to even minister to the whole congregation today through song. I would like to just say with children's ministry, it's something that I like doing. I really love our kids here. It also, I realize that less and less of my time is going to it too, so they're not being probably invested in as well as they could. So we have, even just with Jeff and I's salary, we've talked with each other. We said, we're kind of getting paid for a position and a quarter. And so we'll just say right now that if you ever know someone who's like, man, they would be great to come and help us, particularly with children's and families, we have some space for that. And it's something that would be a little bit sad to give up and also very happy to give up. Kind of, it'd be the bittersweet, but I think our kids would, they're worth it. They're worth someone who can give a little bit more time to that ministry. So then we can go to the pastoral update. We always just do kind of a 3-month or looking past from our last meeting. And so just to kind of highlight what we've been through, we've talked about the supportive learning space, beginning the process of kind of updating our mission statement. Hopefully we'll kind of do the same process with values as well. Because of Carla's help, we had a family fall celebration. Something to point out that we haven't publicized yet, that Jeff has reached out to it's a retirement apartment complex, or kind of a retirement community that it's brand new. People are moving in, and we helped a family move in that we didn't know and thought, man, it would be great if we had a Bible study here. It's super close to the church. So he contacted the manager, and now on Wednesday mornings, he goes to this place as a pastor to do Bible study and praying for people. And he's had a couple, usually a couple each Wednesday. The first week that came, there was one lady who brought in, I guess, a really big family Bible and said, I've never really read this. I've never really been to church, but I'm interested, which is amazing. She just shows up and says, I have questions and I want to hear. And then also another lady who said, I'm new to the area and I'm looking for a community. And she joined us online that Sunday. So that's something to be praying about. We'd love for it to expand, and just other ideas like that. If you ever come across an area we feel like that could be an opportunity for us to do ministry and really advance God's kingdom, we'd love to hear about it and support other people to do something similar. And we talked about this summer. Of one of Jeff and I's goal is we moved to Shawnee, and we really want to be more involved in the community. So we've taken a couple steps into community engagement. Jeff sat in on there's what's it called? Community for Faith and City Partnerships. So they meet a couple times a year, and it talks about how churches and the faith community can partner with the city. So we're trying to get involved and be an active voice in that group of people. I've also, the school system is beginning a initiative to increase, it's called, I think, Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity. So it's a committee that they're going through a program through the Kaufman Center, and there's lots of arms of this, but they have a parents committee. So I've asked if I could be a part of that, not because I have a lot to offer, but I feel like I have a lot to learn from this committee. And also I feel like we as a church can a little bit learn what they're doing and try to support it, to be a resource for the schools in this. I think, Tori, are you going to be on that as well? And God is working. I mean, even just to have a partner with us together to be on this parent committee and represent Harvest Ridge and kind of vice versa, I'm really excited about that. And then we kind of just do stats of Jeff and I have, mostly Jeff, especially in the last 3 months, have met with around 40 people through phone or small groups. We like to say we want to be transparent. Every month we give a much more detailed report to the leadership team. If you ever have questions about how we're spending our time or what we're doing, feel free to ask us. We can share that report or talk to Tori about sharing that report, but we want to be really transparent with what we're doing. So if you ever have questions, please let me know. Then I just spend a few minutes talking about what we're kind of hoping for and looking to for the next 6 months. I would love to see, and this is kind of with help with Carla Jordan, the number one priority on her to-do list, this starting in January, is to just help us have a team, kind of a committee that is Mercy and Missions. That's going to just give our church a focal point, or people that can kind of lead that initiative in our community, say, what do we want to be doing? How can we expand what we're already doing in terms of investing in the community? But also, I think this team can help oversee the benevolence fund. We talked about that at church a couple weeks ago. A missions fund. We support some missionaries through the ECC, but we don't have a committee that could say, let's say, I don't know, Daniel Coleman is going to go overseas for a summer and is trying to raise support. Like, we'd love to have a committee that would say, all right, we have a fund, we have people who are going to decide where we allot this missions money, and hopefully that fund will grow, that we'll begin to support even financially more and more missions and then mercy initiatives. So if you're interested in being on that kind of a committee, please let me know. We haven't started building that team yet, but that is going to be kind of a priority in the new year. The membership process in class, Jeff and I have been talking about this for a long time, and it keeps getting put on the back burner, but it is really important. We feel like we just need to revisit and kind of analyze what it means to be a member at Harvest Ridge. and then kind of recreate the class, or not recreate, but modify and offer another class towards membership. Leadership development, we want to start offering a Bible study for people who want to grow in a leadership capacity. That's going to be something in the new year. We're going to start just a once-a-month type development time. The Parent Advisory Committee, I already mentioned that. And then strategic planning. I am really hoping that in every other meeting that we have, we're going to talk a lot more about future and vision, but we haven't had a lot of strategic planning meetings so far. It's a lot of stuff has been trying to figure out what's happened, how do we deal with what's happening right now, how do we deal with the COVID crisis. But as we move into 2021, there's going to be an opportunity to look ahead, not only for that year, but where do we want to be in 5 years? How do we get to that place as a church? And so that's going to be what we're going to talk with the leadership team about and really focus on too, so that by 2021, 2022, we have a much more articulated vision to share. Any questions?
Thank you, pastors, both pastors. Just going to take the next few minutes and talk through finance and budget. If there is anyone here that needs a copy of the proposed budget and doesn't have one, we have a copy for you. Just raise your hand, we'll bring you one. All right, thank you. Well, I'd like to ask Cindy to come up and represent the finance team, which is just, I tell you, watching this team work over the last 2 years has been so incredible and an experience that I'm glad I didn't miss out on. So thank you for that. Do you want to do this?
I have enough going on. Maybe, yeah, if you would not mind, that'd be great. I think I'm going to lose my mask, though. Hang on just a second. The first part of the meeting went a little quicker than I was planning for it to, so I apologize for that. Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce the finance team members. I'm Cindy Myers. I'm the Director of Finance. This is I think I've just completed my second year doing that job. Jake Blake is our interim financial secretary and is handling the giving records. Wanda Polson has taken a break for a few months from doing that. We're looking forward to her returning in the spring, hopefully. So please, please. Jake's looking forward to you coming back in the spring. He's nodding. And Diane Anderson, who I believe is watching online, who just spends hours and hours just trying to make sure that our bills are paid and making sure that the right bills are paid, and just does a phenomenal job. I couldn't work without either of these ladies or Jake, so thank you all very much. In addition to that, I consider the 10 additional offering counters that we have to be part of the finance team, because that has to happen every week. So we definitely appreciate that. And when we have finance team meetings, this is more before COVID, but we've had a couple of online meetings also where Jeff Hudson and Bill Higgins attend. Jeff attends as the leadership team chairman to help make decisions, and Bill Higgins because he's the one spending all the money. Anyway, so we can advance to the next slide. Sorry, Bill, it's true. The truth hurts. So we're going to move on to the finance and budget. So the church finances and budget are evaluated and analyzed frequently. We take into account many factors. Monthly giving trends, do we see a drop-off? Have we lost any givers? Have we gained any givers? One of the things that's really surprised me is counting the offering. I found in the offering a couple of people who only watch online, who've never been in our building, have recently just sent checks in, said thank you for blessing us by allowing us to watch online. So we really don't know what our impact is. I think just a couple of people have sent checks in, so there are probably a lot more people who are actually watching. So we are spreading the gospel, which is incredible. We look at the ministry needs, attendance trends. Attendance trends became a little more complicated this year, so I spent a lot of time going, okay, how many people are here? How many people came to the first service? And we had 21 devices online today. Today we had 31 devices online, so there were a lot of people watching those kids perform, which was incredible to watch. So we look at what our current income or deficit is. No deficits this year, thank you. We look at the monthly financial statements as a whole, and all of the results that we do are compiled monthly so for the end of November, we have to have all of our results done by the end of December, and we have to let the Midwest Conference as well as National Covenant Properties, who holds our mortgage, know where we're at for the month and where we're at year to date. So we can move on to the next slide. So a little bit about our church mortgage. Many of you know that that's been a struggle for us in the past few years. This building is wonderful, but it requires a lot of money to keep it going, as well as for the mortgage. And so we've had some trouble with that. So we have stepped down our mortgage payment from the full mortgage payment. Through October of 2020, we were only paying $5,150 of the mortgage, about $4,000 less than the normal payment. Beginning in November of 2020 through June of 2021, we've stepped it up to $7,250. We feel like we're on strong enough ground to do that. National Covenant Properties was very gracious and said, you don't have to jump to the full payment. And COVID also came in there, and we just want to make sure that we keep our reserves and that we can move forward in a healthy manner. We don't want to have to step back and say, you know, can we have more grace later? We would rather do this in a stepped fashion if possible. So our goal is we plan to hit our full payment in July of 2021. The reason I don't know exactly what that's going to be is because National Covenant Properties, when COVID hit, they went to every one of their borrowers and said, we're dropping your mortgage rate. And our mortgage rate had been at 4.9%, and they dropped it to 4.25%. So even though we've missed making some principal payments, we haven't lost much ground. So our payment is projected to be around $9,240 if we don't make up any of the shortfall from prior years. And our payment before was only going to be $9,183. So that missed principal is being amortized into the payment. So we did not lose much during that time because of that. Now, could we have gained? Yes, but we didn't lose, and that's what we're going to focus on today, and we're making headway toward that. We do have money that people have given and that the church has budgeted toward making up some of those payments, and I believe we'll have over $20,000 in that fund by the end of the year. And so we'll make a decision early in the year to how much of that to send to National Covenant Properties to potentially reduce that payment down. I'd kind of like to see it under $9,000 because that psychologically makes me feel good, but we'll see what we have, right? We can't spend what we don't have. So our interest rate we have a 3-year adjustable. This last term we had a 7-year because we refinanced it kind of in a special way, but the interest rates reset every 3 years, and our next interest rate reset is December 1st of 2022. And it's a term note, so it does mature in December of 2035. Hopefully in a couple of years, we'll see if we can kind of speed that up a little, because I'm getting tired of this. I don't know about you. Let's see what we can do to speed that up. So this is kind of a bunch of the stuff I've already said, but and NCP is allowing us to reduce payments through June of 2021. Now, if we hit another hiccup, they are willing to let us stay at the $7,250 level potentially. They'll at least consider our request to do that. The principal was reamortized into the payment, which is, I mentioned. And NCP continues to evaluate our progress in all these different areas: managing expenses, attendance, reserves, and increased progress toward monthly giving. The financial statements that I provide to NCP, I also put together several paragraphs that ends up being a couple pages of information that's not only about the finances of Harvest Ridge, but it's about what's been going on. What's our attendance look like? What's our online attendance look like? What other activities have we had at the church, like the women's retreats and different things like that? Where are we actively engaging? Because NCP, while they're concerned about us being able to meet our obligation because they have investors, individuals within the congregations who have invested their IRAs and things like that in it, they're more concerned about us being a healthy church. So it's a balance. We need to figure out how to balance that. We need to move forward in ministries and at the same time meet our obligations. So our focus, they are pleased with our focus on ministry. I would say that's true. Wouldn't you, HUD? Okay. Go to the next slide. Thank you. So an October financial update. Well, I put this key financial indicators together, and I'm not sure how helpful it is, but I kind of gave 4 different spots in time. In December of 2019, we ended the year with $38,501 to the good. And if you'll remember, earlier that year, we were about $35,000 negative. So in 2019, we made a huge swing, and you guys were just all incredibly generous, and I'm incredibly thankful. I'm incredibly glad that God has allowed me to come along this journey with you to see what he's doing at Harvest Ridge, and it's just amazing to watch every week. So we made it through March, and COVID hit. What's going to happen to Harvest Ridge finances when COVID hits? Do you know what happened when COVID hits? Everybody started mailing their checks into the church, and I would come in every week, and Wanda and I would Zoom while we counted the offering, because we didn't know if we could be in the same room or not, and so we just Zoomed and did that meeting. But you all mailed your checks in. A lot of you decided to use the online portal. You were just all incredibly generous. And then in May, I believe, is when the stimulus checks came out, and several people gave part or all of their stimulus check to Harvest Ridge. At least that's what it appeared, because there was just an incredible level of generosity that came across again in May, which was incredible. So you can see the current year income. In March, we were at $6,000. In June, we were at $29,000. At the end of October, we have $37,000 more received than spent. So our general fund reserve went from a low in August of 2019 of like $2,900 to $119,000 right now. And you guys all deserve a round of applause for that, because that is amazing. That defies any expectation that anyone could ever have. And so that's almost 5 months. That's almost 5 months worth of expenses right there of our 2020 budget. So over 4 months of our 2021 budget. So should we move on to the next slide? Okay, here are our financial results through October. We have not yet closed November. It takes a little bit of time to get everything done, but as you can see, our year-to-date revenue is $233,000 through October. Our full year revenue that we projected last year when we put together the budget was $271,000. So we're on track to bring in as much as we actually budgeted last year, which is a win. Our year-to-date expenses have been very much less than what our revenue was, because we budgeted well, but COVID did not cooperate. So some of the places we would have spent money, we ended up not spending money, but we needed to spend money in other places because all of a sudden online seemed like the most important thing. So we spent some extra money toward whatever we needed to do to make sure that happened. So our cash that we have in the bank right now is about $266,000. Of that, $119,000 is general fund. $27,000 is in the mortgage reserve that we have with NCP, of which $25,000 they require us to have there. We have PPP funds of $21,500 that we have not yet applied for forgiveness. I'm going to be working on that in the next few weeks, that hopefully we'll have that done by the end of January. Then we'll get all that forgiven, and then that will. That was, as was mentioned, most of that's going toward funding Carla Jordan's salary, which she was a bargain. If you've ever looked at her resume, it is amazing what she has done with like Samaritan's Purse and some of those places. You need to have the opportunity to have a chat with her sometime. I would like her to have some like seminars or different times where she gets to share what all she's done, because we've got an incredible bargain there. And the dedicated funds of $98,000. Within that dedicated funds of $98,000, there's $15,000 that we received from a grant from the Covenant to do the SLS. We're going to be writing a check here shortly to return the entire $15,000. At the end of the day, we ended up with a $500 shortfall that Harvest Ridge didn't cover, and we'll find funds elsewhere to meet that need. But we felt it was important to return that money to the Covenant to be used for other good works in places where it was needed more. Next slide. Okay. So projected 2021 giving based on 2020 giving. So our projected average giving, if you look at January through October, was $23,165 a month. What our budgeted expenses for 2021 is $25,165 a month. So that's a $2,000, it appears to be a $2,000 shortfall. Now this is not the end of the story, because the projected average giving per month through October, we have several people who give annually in like November and December timeframe. So that $23,000 number is going to go up. It's going to get, I don't know if it'll quite hit the $25,000 number, but it's going to be a lot closer to that number than it is right now. And the majority of that cash will be needed starting in July when our mortgage payment goes up. That's $2,000 a month right there, just toward the mortgage that we'll need in July. So that gives us another 6 months of runway to really get up to speed. But we have some reserves, and we've had some positive results, so it sounds good. This might be a great place to stop and allow you to ask any questions that you might have about anything that I've just talked 1,000 miles an hour. I apologize. Looking for questions. Any online questions? Text questions? Okay. We'll move on to the budget. So this shows a snapshot of what our budget has been for the last 4 years. In 2018, $365,000. It hit a high in 2019 of $376,000, and we really, Diane and Wanda brought it down to $271,000 in 2020, and that was really a blessing. We had to cut out a number of things, including the fancy coffee machines and stuff like that, but I think it was worth it to show that we could do it and to build back up to spending on the things that we really feel are important, are really going to enhance our ministry. So that's the goal there. So the budget for 2021 is about $30,000 more than 2020. The majority of that is focused in 2 areas, and we'll go into details here in a minute, but it's focused in 2 areas, and the biggest area is definitely the mortgage. And when we're going up to, $2,000 to $4,000 a month, depending on what you're comparing it to, that's the majority of the money. There's also a little bit of money that we put toward increasing the pastor's salary, which they disagree about occasionally, and they want us to use that to hire additional people, but we're thankful for their generous hearts and spirits, but thank you. So we move on. So there are 4 sections to the budget. There's administration, which is like, your basic office supplies and bank fees and things like that. Facilities, which is a huge part of our budget. We have a wonderful building. Salaries and benefits, and ministries. We'll move on. So as you can see, administration is the smallest portion of our budget, and the largest is facilities. And then salaries and benefits, and then 11.7% to ministries. So for the administration budget, we are proposing $11,745, which reflects an increase of about $705 from the 2020 budget. And to give you the highlights, anything that was over 250 either direction is kind of what I put in this list. I didn't want to completely bore you, but we reduced the bank charges, conferences and meetings, professional fees and background checks. We have increases in dues and memberships, and that's mainly for the pastors. They have an annual ministry license that they have to get with the covenant, pay for with the Midwest Conference. There's a lot of administration that goes along with that, and it just makes sense that we pay for that since we require them to have it. So office equipment was another thing that's going up. We are replacing one of the pastor's computers. He's had his computer for 8 years, and it's time for something new before it completely crashes. And software. Facilities, we're proposing a budget of $140,000, which is an increase of $21,000. The majority of that is toward the mortgage. There is a piece of it toward some repairs and things like that we're anticipating. We've had huge reductions in the utilities. One of the things that I did when I looked at the budget, and I know we used a lot less utilities this year because there weren't as many people in the building. So I tried to average this year with last year and tried to figure out what it would be. But no matter how you looked at it, the utilities have definitely gone down. I think the thermostats and the new lights and things like that. So I moved $2,000 from that electricity budget into the repairs budget because our building is going to be 20 years old this fall, and 20-year-old buildings require more maintenance. We also have increases in property insurance and the mortgage payment. Salary and benefits, $114,750, which reflects an increase of $5,980 or 5.5% from the 2020 budget. We have a reduction in the youth pastor salary. Last year, we budgeted for a full year of youth pastor salary, and Crystal left in March, so we had 9 months that we didn't use. This year, Amy has asked that we look for someone to step alongside her in that role that can help with the fundraising and some of the other activities that she can't do as she has a full-time job. So we're hoping to find someone by June or July to kind of take on that role, so the budget includes money for that. The custodian salary, we had a reduction in that, and we have a slight increase in the senior co-pastor salary package. The ministry's budget reflects an increase of $2,387 from last year. There was a slight reduction in connections and hospitality. I was trying to project forward how long COVID would be impacting us. And I mean, it looks like for the first 6 months, we're not going to be able to get together nearly as much as we would like. So I kind of ratcheted that budget down in order to allow some money somewhere else. We do have increases in the tithes to the denomination in the conference. We didn't actually increase the percentage, but when you increase the total budget, whatever we bring in, we give 3% and 5.75%, one to the Midwest Conference and one to the denomination. We had an increase in worship. Okay, so this slide is a slide from last year. That was what our financial goals were when we had this meeting last November. We wanted to eliminate the 2019 deficit of $23,998. Done. We want to complete the church revitalization plan, which includes ministry and financial goals. Done. And increase the general fund reserves to 3 to 4 months of expenses so that we have a little bit of running room. We did that. So the only things that we did not complete, we knew were going to be ongoing goals that were going to take a little bit of time, were to continue to increase the monthly giving towards $28,000 needed to fully fund a budget and to hire in some staff at some critical places. We want to continue to grow church membership and stewardship. You guys have all been phenomenal. We want to continue to grow that. We want to bring in more people. And we want to continue to focus on our mortgage and making the best financial decisions possible for Harvest Ridge. So what are our 2020, 2021 financial goals? We believe that we're going to end 2020 very positive. We're going to have a lot more income than we had expenses. So one of the things that I would like to do is to reserve some of those amounts. So to the extent we have a sufficient amount in our general fund, if we have extra, I would like to have the leadership team decide to reserve some of that money. Some of it might go toward the parking lot, some of it might go toward the mortgage, some of it will go toward ministry, because like I mentioned before, we need to balance that. We need to balance our obligations and our responsibilities to the community to bring them the ministry that they expect. So it's kind of like the story in the Bible about the 7 lean cows and the 7 lean ears of corn and then the fat ears of corn. We want to make sure that while we're having a fat year, that we take some of those funds and that we kind of put them in a place that we know that they'll be used for what was intended, that it's going to move the church forward into 2021 in a positive place. I can't tell you exactly what that looks like because I don't know what the dollars are, and God hasn't completely brought to our heart, I don't think yet, the places where all that needs to be reserved. I know a little bit of it needs to go towards CHIC for additional leaders to go to CHIC when that happens in 2022. We want to make sure that that's fully funded. We want our money to go show where our priorities are, and so some of that's going to go toward ministry. We also need to consider a capital improvement plan for early 2021. As Bill mentioned, the parking lot is not getting better. And if you're a homeowner, you know these things don't tend to just magically improve without some investment and some work on that. And we'll also look to see if there are any other small projects around the church that might need to be picked up, like if we need to replace anything. But Bill's going to get together a list, and we'll come to you with what that list is. But to the extent we can reserve some of that from how well we did in 2020, we want to do that also. And we want to continue to work toward increasing our monthly giving toward $28,000. So $25,000 is what we need for the 2021 budget, but we need to continue to move in a way that allows us to fully fund ministry. Because right now we're doing a lot with what we have, but there's a lot more that we could do. And we would like to continue to grow church membership. And I feel like I haven't taken a breath in about 10 minutes, so I'm going to stop here and see if there are any questions.
Thank you for that. I'll repeat the comment that was made, that Cindy and your team, just amazing in the job that you've done. And this church owes a debt of gratitude, as we talked about earlier today. Wanda and Diane and Jake, thank you. He's not there? There he is. No, where'd he go? But thank you for that reassurance of gratitude. It's just been amazing to watch the stewardship of funds and giving over the last 2 years and how that's been very, very appropriately designated and forecasted and reported. This team 2 years ago, one of the things that we talked about in our very first meeting of January 2019 was about transparency to Harvest Ridge. And I think that at every turn, this team has used that as where are we? And we need to share that with our church right away, this information. Good news, not so good news, it needed to be shared. And you all have done just a marvelous job of that. Okay, what else do we have?
Are you sure we don't have any questions? Because I'm a little bit concerned when I don't get any questions. Okay, I have some over there. Okay. If I don't have any questions, then I'm going to pass this on. I believe we're done with, yes, we're moving on to someone else. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to make sure that everyone that is joining us remotely has an opportunity to ask questions as well, and text or call. So we're in the part of the annual meeting of nominations for the 2021 leadership team and nominations team. And I'd like to introduce and ask Chris Coleman to come up and on behalf of the nominations team and conduct this part of our meeting. Do you want to do this or you?
Well, I don't know what is on here. I guess I should have looked at that. Sorry. Okay. Current leadership team, I think, got that on there. Okay. So the nominating committee, Linda O'Neill took the lead on this, but she and Bob Flores and myself met and have met with she's met with the leadership team to go through the nominations for the next term. So we've got, we're talking about gratitude tonight, so I do want to say that with this team of leaders with the last 2 years that you all have gone through, that you're not all running for the hills and we still have the same people up here and new people joining. That's just amazing. It's just another sign of how blessed this church is, how God has blessed us. But we do have some changes coming up. So the nominating committee has put up for taking the place of Chair Tori Blake, Amy Mitchell to step up to Vice Chair, Linda O'Neill to be leaving the nominating committee and taking an at-large membership position. Jeff Hudson will be moving to at-large membership position. Let's see. Bill Higgins will remain an at-large member, term until 2022. So that is your leadership team ballot. We then have the nominating committee ballot. So right now there are 3 members with Linda. If you affirm her to move to the leadership team, Jim O'Neill has put himself up to join us on the nominating committee. So if you affirm him, and Bob is up to take on another term and is willing to do that as well. Okay.
So we have ballots to pass out to all of you, and if you need, we'll give you a moment to fill those out, complete your ballots, and turn them in. Does anybody need a pen? Yeah, we have one for each member present. Yeah.
I'll stand back here and I'll bring it back to you.
So we're going to take just a few minutes and
It's for you. Okay.
So once you've completed your ballot, you can either remain there and we'll come collect them, or you can hand them to Chris or Cindy or anyone that's up to turn into the nominations team to be counted. Ask me that again?
Can you repeat the phone number that's on slide
Sure.
913-742?
So I was asked to repeat the phone number that we're using today if you need to call or text. And that phone number is 913-742-2465. Has everyone completed and turned in their ballot? Okay. So while we're doing that, counting the ballots, I'd like to invite Tori Blake up to share a little bit about what our leadership team and our pastors have leaned into for 2021. Before doing that, I would like to take a moment and share a little gratitude while we've got a little space and time here before you come up, Tori. Thank you. You have seen tonight that threaded throughout our annual meeting is what we are so grateful for, and what Jeff talked about it during service today of being grateful for what God has done at Harvest Ridge. And it's just, as you know, it's been amazing. I have some gratitude myself that I'd like to share first to my wife Maggie and my family, who has given of their time as well during the nights that we had meetings and other times when we had leadership team commitments. I'm just so grateful for that, and not only for your time, but your love as well. And you're an incredible sounding board for me when I have things on my mind about church, or whether it's finances or whether it's ministries or whatever. And I'm so grateful for your measured response to my ideas and your solid input with love in this. And I'm just so grateful to you for giving me that opportunity the last year to have this joyous part of my life to share with Harvest Ridge. So thank you for that. Our staff, our incredible staff here at Harvest Ridge, that is a team of people who get so much done, yet has very low visibility in our church, and has such an impact on our planning and carrying out of what our ideas, thoughts, and things that need to get done here, and just so incredibly grateful for them. I'm as well, lastly, so grateful for our pastors, Jeff and Tiffany, for personally in my life, and just want to thank the both of you for everything that you do for Harvest Ridge. It's more than anyone sees. what you do, but we see it, the leadership team sees it, but our church feels it, and we're just so full of gratitude to the both of you. And talk about growing our church. Certainly, the Flanagans are growing our church, and we're so grateful for that. So I just want to take a moment and thank all of you as well for the last 2 years of my involvement at this level with the leadership team. It's just been a lot of fun, and I thank you for that very much. So I'm going to ask Tori to come up and share a little bit about what we've been talking about for 2021 and beyond. Looking forward.
Thank you. Would be completely amiss if I did not give HUD more gratitude than I can possibly express standing here right now. When you stepped in, it was just like, answered prayers. And every single time we sat at the table or on a Zoom or you stood in front of this church, you represented yourself well, your family well. You led through God's vision. You built incredible relationships with our pastors. You got us through something that I may be alone in this, but I wasn't sure we would get through. I definitely had no idea we would get through in this way. And the incredible team around you, I know is what you want to say right now, and I'm not going to give you the microphone, but I just want you to know that you both are loved and appreciated, and an incredible gift to this church. So thank you so much for everything that you've done. I stand here in front of you guys and just think again of how far we've come. I've had such an incredible opportunity to be on this team for a lot of years, and watching the transition of not just the team, not just the staff, but the church body as a whole is incredible, and it leaves me feeling so hopeful for where we're going to go. Pastor Jeff talked this morning about community and the importance of being part of a Christ-centered and Christ-led community. And I look at our church body here and online and just know that that is exactly what we are. And with your guys' leadership, I know that's where we're continuing to go. There's just so much coming. I know we've talked about strategic planning is coming, so I don't want to get into too much specifics, but I felt like there's some scripture that kind of perfectly encapsulated where we're at and where we're headed. So if you'll allow me, see if I can one-hand this real quick. So it's a verse from Philippians 4:4-9. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. Thank you guys for doing all of that. So excited to see where we're headed. Love every single one of you. I'm just so grateful. And this has got to be closest to on time we've ever come to an annual meeting. So thank you for that as well. Any closing remarks? Oh, yes, thank you. I didn't see you come in. I was like, where do I go?
Okay, so just to make this official, so on the leadership team ballot, you have affirmed Bill Higgins as at-large member, Tori Blake as chairman, Amy Mitchell as vice chair, Linda O'Neill at-large member, Jeff Hudson at-large member. For the nominating committee, you have affirmed Bob Flores for term 2021 to 2023, Jim O'Neill to finish out Linda O'Neill's term. You have also affirmed that the budget shall be adopted for 2021.
Thank you, Chris, Linda, Bob Flores, the nominating committee for taking that role on this year and doing such a great work. We're grateful. It is absolutely my pleasure to introduce the chair of the leadership team for 2021 and 2022, Tori Blake. And before you applaud for her, because she deserves an applause for that, it's a huge step. And your applause I take as reaffirming. I just ask that you pray for Tori as well and her family as they lead us into the future here. A very exciting time, and just so grateful to have been able to work with you the last 2 years and look forward to your leadership. And anything else you'd like to share tonight? No, she says no. Okay. Well, then, thank you. It's been an incredible day and evening. It's been an incredible year, and we look forward to the next couple of years as we begin to pick up and capitalize on this momentum. So, in closing, I would just, for myself, I would like to personally thank the leadership team, Tori, Bill, Cindy, Amy, Mitchell. Thank you and the energy and work that you do here, and now stepping into this vice chair role. We stand ready to support you both in any way that we can, and looking forward to that. Darren, thank you for the time you've spent on the leadership team the last 2 years as vice chair, and thank you for the personal time that we've had either here at church or away. It's always fun. I always enjoy our conversations for sure. So we definitely owe Darren a debt of gratitude and a round of applause, and thank you for the time that you've served on this team. So, any questions, thoughts, anything before we close in prayer? I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to 2021, and it's just going to be a great year for Harvest Ridge. I can feel it. So I'd like to invite the Flanagans, or Jeff Flanagan, Tiffany, to come forward and offer prayer, and thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, please close out with me in prayer. God, we are grateful, we are thankful just for your hand and your blessing over this church and the people here. God, we do just pray for our future. We pray, Lord, for Tori and her family as she steps into the leadership chair position. God, we pray that you will just aid her and help her as she leads this wonderful team. And God, that you would just lead through this team to shape the church in the direction that you want us to be going. And so, God, we pray for your wisdom in that way. God, we do pray for the spots that we have open, that you would bring people around us to help out with certain needs in this church and be plugged in the ministry here. People who have a heart and love for this church and can assist and join with us in advancing your kingdom. So God, we would just pray that you would be raising up those people, that you would be bringing more people to this church, and God, that you would be using this church in order to be a blessing to this world and to make your name known to the ends of the earth. And God, we pray all of this in your name. Amen.